To this January meeting of the Water Quality Advisory Work Group put on by the Water Quality Division here at the TCQ. My name is Greg Easley. I manage the Water Quality Assessment section in the Water Quality Division, and I'll be your moderator for this afternoon's meeting. And we'll shortly go around the room to introduce everyone, both here up at the desk and out there in the audience, but I'll just go through a few quick housekeeping things and then we'll get into it. As far as those who are, whether you're here in person or online, we would ask that you register your participation, your attendance here at today's meeting. If you're watching online, you can send us an email to our outreach email box. That's outreach@tcq.texas.gov and put the meeting abbreviation in the subject line, WQAWG. And then you can provide your contact information in the body of the email. So if you could do that, we'd appreciate it. For those here in person, if you haven't done so already, you can register just outside the door in the back with the staff out there. And just another notification that's in the agenda, but just to remind you, this meeting is being recorded, so you can always go back and watch it later if you need to, or let other folks know about it. It'll be on our YouTube channel, and there's a link to that channel in the agenda. As we go through our different topics today that we're going to be providing you updates on, after each speaker gives their presentation, we'll pause for any questions you have on that particular topic that was being discussed. And if you are watching online, we can take your questions as well through that same email address that I just gave, the outreach@tcq.texas.gov. And we'll get to those questions as they come in. But after we go through all the topics and all the updates we have for you, there's another question and answer session near the end in case there's something that you forgot to ask earlier or something else on your mind. We can take those questions at that time. So at this point, let's go ahead and do introductions of everyone else here. We'll start here up front and then go out into the audience with a handheld microphone. But I guess let's start with you, Dante.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dante Fichetti. I am from TCQ's Water Quality Division, and I'm a permit writer on the Stormwater team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michaela Coleman. I'm a permit writer in the Stormwater team, also in the Water Quality Division at TCQ.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rebecca Villalba, and I am the team leader for the Stormwater team.
I'm Dr. Cole Gray. I'm on the Industrial Wastewater Permitting Team and the Water Quality Division.
Hi, my name is Louis Herron, and I'm with, Water Quality, and I'm basically kind of in charge of the plans and spec, domestic wastewater plans and specs, and water reuse program.
My name is Danielle Monroe. I'm a part of the Customer Information and Assistance Team in the Water Quality Division.
My name is Maria Benitez, and I'm the Water Quality Division Technical Specialist.
All right. I guess go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ken Thompson. I'm with Natural Systems Utilities, water, wastewater, and industrial wastewater. Thanks.
Sarah Bergen, attorney at Bracewell.
Lyle Tischler, Tischler-Kasurik.
I'm Natalie Taylor. I work for the Trinity River Authority of Texas as the manager of environmental services.
My name's Anna Ramos from San Antonio Water Systems.
I'm Nathan Vassar from Lloyd Gosselink.
Jesse Spears from Lloyd Gosselink.
Lauren Crone with LJA Engineering.
Hello, Mike Linder, team leader, industrial wastewater permits, TCQ.
All right, thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. So let's go ahead and dive into our agenda this afternoon. We're going to start off with a couple of wastewater permitting process updates with Michaela.
Thank you, Greg. So first, I'm going to give an update on our agency's compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act's process. So, in case this is the first time you're hearing about this topic, I'll give a little bit of background. TCEQ entered into an informal resolution agreement with EPA in response to complaints filed against TCEQ. And these complaints allege discrimination against individuals with limited English proficiency in the administration of TCEQ's permitting and public engagement programs, which would be a violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. So as a result of this informal resolution with EPA to meet the Title VI requirements, TCEQ has done several things. First, we publish TCEQ's public participation plan, and that is on the TCEQ websites as the document titled GI 607, GI standing for General Information. We also publish TCEQ's language access plan, which is GI 608. And then we also revise the public notice requirements in Title 30 of the Texas Administrative Code, specifically Chapter 39. These new plans and rule updates impact water quality permits and their applicants in the following ways. For all applications that were administratively complete on or after May 1st of 2022, those applicants that are subject to public notice requirements in Chapter 39 must also provide a plain language summary of their application. And then if you're subject to alternative language notice requirements, then that summary also needs to be provided in that alternative language. Applicants with alternative language notice requirements must provide TCEQ with a translated copy of each public notice. Failure to provide these translated notice documents can delay your permitting process. To assist you, there are Spanish notice templates available on the TCEQ web pages. TCEQ is posting these alternative language notices and plain language summaries on our public webpage, in addition to any newspaper publications being completed by applicants. So those are located on the webpage titled Pending Permit Application Information, Water Quality Permits. Applicants with alternative language requirements must publish their alternative language notices of any public meetings. And applicants may also be required to provide interpretation services at public meetings. The newer requirement we're implementing now is TCEQ's public participation plan identifies the use of preliminary screening and public involvement plans to ensure meaningful public outreach. So to accomplish this, the agency developed an agency-wide form for applicants to develop a public involvement plan, or a PIP, or a PIP. This is TCEQ form number 20960. So this new form must be attached as part of the application package for applicants that are applying for either a new permit or a major amendment to an existing permit. So this is required for all applications received on or after November 1st of 2022. Based on some initial feedback we received from a lot of our applicants, we're working on some improvements to that form. I'm trying to make the new form a little bit more clear for everybody and easier to use. So a new version will be published in the coming months. The water quality permit applications have been updated to make it clear which applications require the attachment of this form for certain new applicants or major amendment applications. If you happen to be working with an old version of the application form right now, just make sure you go ahead and attach that PIP or PIP form to it. There's no need to necessarily go back. It's just going to be some language in the instructions referring to this additional attachment. And announcements regarding form updates and updated applications are posted on the wastewater and stormwater webpage. Any questions on the Title VI updates? Just a second, she's coming with the microphone.
Could there be an opportunity for a workshop or some sort of training on how to complete the PIP correctly?
It's a good question. I can certainly take it back and express that there's a desire for something like that and see what might be able to happen. Thank you. Any others? Okay, then back to you, Greg.
Thank you, Michaela. We'll move on to now a couple of program-specific updates, and we'll begin with Cole.
All right. Well, first, some background information. TCEQ was transferred permitting authority over oil and gas facility discharges to surface waters of the state for House Bill 2771 during the 2018 legislative session. TCEQ also obtained authorization for TIPDs under EPA during January 2021 via a revised memorandum of agreement. However, TCEQ did not obtain authorization to permit land application or reuse for oil and gas facility discharges adjacent to surface waters of the state. That authority remains under the Railroad Commission. So to that end, for this new authority, the TCEQ, we amended the general permit for hydrostatic discharges, TXG 670,000, which it now includes oil and gas facility hydrostatic discharges. And we also developed and drafted 2 new general permits, which the first one is TXG 310,000, which is under the Texas Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or TIPDs program, and the WQG 280,000, which is under state-only authority. So TXG 310,000 replaces EPA's general permits, which are TXG 260,000 and TXG 330,000, as well as individual railroad commission authorizations, and WQG 280,000 will replace individual railroad commission permit authorizations. So as far as implementation activities, for TXG 310,000, which covers onshore stripper well facilities, coastal facilities, and territorial sea facilities in the Gulf of Mexico, the TCEQ, we shared a draft GP with stakeholders for review and comments, and TCEQ reviewed all the various comments that we received. We also submitted a draft GP to EPA Region 6 for their 90-day review on August 2nd of 2022. We received their responses on November 14th, 2022, and we only received some minor suggestions and no objections. So EPA pretty much approved TCEQ's issuance of the GP. So with that now out of the way, it's projected that we will begin statewide public notice in the Texas Register and statewide circulation in newspapers on April 7th, 2023, followed by a 30-day comment period. The comment period is projected to take place between April to May 2023. And the anticipated commission adoption of this general permit is slated for September 13, 2023. We've also developed the notice of intent, notice of change, and notice of termination forms for this general permit. So moving on to WQG 280,000, which covers outer continental shelf facilities that are between 3 to 10.2 miles off the Texas coastline in the Gulf of Mexico. The general permit has been drafted in coordination with EPA Region 6's renewal of some of the equivalent permit, which is MPDS GMG 290,000. The GP has been paired up with a TXG 310,000 since the state-only GP doesn't require EPA approval or review. So as such, we released the general permit for stakeholder review in December 2022 via the Water Quality Advisory Work Group. And the informal comment period just ended on January 18th of this year. And the anticipated commission adoption is the same with the TXG 310,000, which is September 13th, 2023. So in terms of issued permits and pending permits, so far we've issued about 35 general permits for the hydrostatic test discharges of oil and gas facilities, along with 2 individual oil and gas TPDS permits. And we still have about 21 individual oil and gas TPDS permit applications at various points of the permitting process that are still pending. And that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you, Cole. Any questions for Cole? All right, we'll go on with the next update from Maria.
Thank you, Greg. Just to recap on the Homeland Security contact information for 2022, that information was completed and submitted to the EPA. And, a big thank you to everybody who submitted them, as we anticipated hurricane season last year. And luckily, we had a pretty calm year. As we continue to work to be ready and assist in the matters of Homeland Security and emergency response efforts, the WQ EPS technical team recently sent out notifications regarding the change in the process for updating your annual contacts and Homeland Security information. As a reminder, your Homeland Security information for the Water Quality Emergency Preparedness System will be solely collected through STEERS through the portal, through the Water Quality Emergency Preparedness System portal. So with that said, you will be seeing the official notices coming your way soon. We are working on completing those and, preparing them for y'all to utilize that information included within those notices so that you can complete your 2023 applications to update your information. Once you do receive those notices, that key information will be necessary for you to create your application and then also submit it. And then if you have any questions or need any additional information, please go ahead and reach out to us. You could reach us by email at homeland@tcq.texas.gov, or you can call our main line at the Water Quality Division so that somebody can go ahead and get you in contact with one of the WQ EPS technical staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. Any questions on Homeland Security? All right, appreciate it. Moving on to the next section, got quite a few general permit updates to provide for you, and Dante will kick us off on that. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I'll start us off. So we have 4 stormwater general permit updates to provide you. I will start off with the construction general permit. And just some brief background information. The construction general permit is TXR number TXR 150,000, and we're currently in the process of the 2023 renewal. This general permit regulates stormwater discharges from construction activities and is set to expire pretty soon on March 5th of 2023. We actually start this renewal process 2 years ahead of time, beginning with a stakeholder meeting. We held that on October 21st of 2021, where TCEQ presented preliminary proposed changes, and stakeholders were given 2 weeks to provide input. If you'd like to review a full list of the preliminary proposed changes and the information presented at the stakeholder meeting, you can find that on our Stormwater Stakeholders Group webpage. After the 2 weeks, all stakeholder comments, as well as comments from various TCEQ program areas, were reviewed and the draft CGP was completed. The next step in the process is EPA review. So we sent the draft general permit to EPA for their review and approval on April 14th of 2022. EPA sent TCEQ an interim objection letter on July 20th that included 3 objections and a handful of recommendations. TCEQ then sent a response letter dated August 4th, along with the revised draft permit and fact sheet addressing their objections and several of the recommendations. EPA then sent TCEQ an approval letter dated August 18th, 2022. Moving on to public notice. The draft CGP was published for public notice in a 30-day comment period on September 17th of 2022. Publication was both in the Texas Register as well as the Houston Chronicle. Some of the proposed changes include prohibiting permit coverage for construction or operation of a facility that is licensed for the storage of high-level radioactivity waste in accordance with House Bill 7, and this was passed during the 87th Legislative Special Session. We've also clarified that large construction site notices must be maintained until final stabilization is achieved. We've clarified that compliance with the permit is required until termination of the authorization. We've added some requirements for site maps and descriptions to clearly identify property boundaries and soil disturbing activities, which must note phasing. This includes demolition activities. And we've also added requirements for inspection of dewatering activities on the days where dewatering discharges occur. At the end of the 30-day public comment period, we held a in-person public meeting in this room on October 17th of 2022. All comments submitted were reviewed, and a formal response to comments document has been prepared, and the draft CGP was revised as appropriate. In total, we received comments from 15 individuals. The renewal permit package is scheduled to go before the Commission for adoption at the Commissioner's agenda on February 22nd of 2023, and is to be issued with an effective date of March 5th, 2023. The final permit, fact sheet, and Executive Director's response to comments will be available as part of the backup material for the February 22nd Commissioner's agenda meeting. This backup material is made available at least 8 days before the meeting and can be found on the Commissioner's agenda webpage. So that's it for the construction general permit. Any questions? Okay, excellent. Moving on, we have the John Graves Scenic Riverway general permit. And this permit number is TXG 500,000. This is specifically related to the 2024 renewal. This general permit regulates stormwater and wastewater discharges from quarries in the John Graves Scenic Riverway portion of the Brazos River Basin and is set to expire on March 28th of 2024. If anyone would like to submit informal feedback on ways to improve the John Graves general permit, you can send an email to swgp@tceq.texas.gov for our consideration. TCEQ has started the renewal process for this general permit and is currently drafting the general permit. We anticipate on sending it to EPA for their review and approval in early spring of 2023. After EPA approval, we expect publishing the proposed permit in fall of 2023 for a 30-day public comment period. Lastly, TCEQ anticipates going to the Commissioner's agenda in January of 2024 and issuing the general permit on March 29th of 2024. So that's it for John Graves. Any questions on that permit? Okay, excellent. I will turn it over to Rebecca.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yes, I will give you an update on the multi-sector general permit, which is the MSGP TXR 050,000. And this is specifically regarding the implementation of electronic reporting. So this permit regulates stormwater discharges from industrial activities and was reissued last year in August 14 of 2021. So all permittees under the MSGP must report monitoring data electronically now using the NetDMR system that's available through our TCQ webpage, unless a permittee qualifies for and obtains a waiver from electronic reporting. So again, all permittees that have reporting monitoring data required electronically. The NetDMR system is now ready. I know that we've had some issues that we had to work with EPA. Our MSGP entities, we have over 13,000. It's a very complex permit with a lot of sectors, so it took a while to go through EPA. But now everything's ready. We work very closely with EPA to flow the necessary data for each permittee into the federal system. So the NetDMR system is EPA's federal system. So monitoring data is required to be submitted to TCQ this March 31st is the first time. So please, your reporting period ended. You can go ahead and start submitting that data now before the deadline of March 31st. TCQ and Small Business Local Government Assistance and Water Quality Division prepared a webinar that was hosted. It was a free webinar. It was hosted by SBLGA regarding reporting of the MSGP through the NetDMR system. This webinar was on October 11th. The recording is on our YouTube channel. You can access that from the website for the Small Business and Local Government Assistance. This is something that if you are a consultant, please pass this information on to your permittees that are customers. And or if you're an industry or a municipality that's required to comply with the MSGP, please go ahead and start setting up your account through NetDMR now. Don't wait till the last minute, because we're going to get a lot of people probably waiting till the last minute. So we want you to go ahead and create your account, watch the videos, read the resources, and then go in and calmly right now enter your DMR data into the system. We are thankful that some people have entered their data earlier in the process, so we are having some questions that we are communicating internally to make sure that we address that question consistently and appropriately, and in some cases we might need to make changes to the system. So as soon as we know of something that we need to fix, the better. That way everybody in the future coming in will not have that problem. So thank you to those who have replied, who have attempted to enter their data sooner rather than later. Any questions on the MSGP and the NetDMR system? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so next I will go over the small Phase 2 Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, or MS4 general permit. This general permit number is TXR 040,000, and the update is on our 2024 renewal. So this general permit regulates stormwater discharges from small Phase 2 Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Systems, or MS4s, and the general permit expires on January 24th of 2024, so just about a year from today. We started the renewal process in May of 2022 with an initial stakeholder meeting that was held on September 27th of 2022. At the meeting, TCQ presented some preliminary proposed changes, including a move from a two-step type permit to a comprehensive permit. The general permit would include all of the requirements that MS4 operators must implement, and therefore remove the need for MS4 operators to submit their individual stormwater management programs, or SWAMPs, for review and approval by TCEQ and public notice. The proposed permit language for best management practices, or BMPs, and the measurable goals under some of the minimum control measures was also shared during the meeting. Another preliminary proposed change we presented was the implementation of electronic reporting for applications and annual reports in this 2024 renewal. Stakeholders were given 2 weeks to submit their informal comments for our consideration, and those comments were due on October 12th of 2022. We received comments from about 50 individuals, so that's a pretty good turnout. We're very thankful to everybody who submitted feedback so that we could improve the permit. The meeting handouts and a recording of the meeting are available online on our Stormwater Stakeholders Group webpage if you missed the meeting and want to see the information that was presented. So we have prepared an initial draft of the renewal permit with all of that input from our stakeholders, and we're currently incorporating feedback from our internal TCQ program areas. So we always send out the draft permit to other program areas in TCQ that could be impacted by the permit and get input from them as well on how they're going to implement the permit to make further improvements. So we tentatively plan to conduct briefings with our management and submit the draft permit to EPA review in either February or March of this year. And that would have us on track to renew the permit in January of 2024. Any questions on this general permit renewal? Okay, then with that, I'll pass it back to Rebecca for a few more general permit updates.
Okay, I will be making the updates for 3 general permits. The first one is the Petroleum Bulk Stations and Terminal General Permit, TXG 340000. This permit authorizes the discharges of facility wastewater, contact stormwater, and stormwater associated with industrial activities from petroleum bulk stations and terminals. The Commission issued the general permit on September 15 of last year, and it became effective on October 24th. Facilities that were authorized under the previous general permit were required to submit a notice of intent for renewal by January 22nd, which was just a couple of days ago. So any facility that unfortunately missed renewing their authorization by the deadline will need to now file an application for a new permit authorization for coverage. So we just want to let you know that if you did miss the deadline, or you know of anybody who did, they no longer can renew. They will have to apply, will get a new TXG authorization number and submit a new application. The next general permit update is for the petroleum contaminated waste general permit, TXG 830000. This permit authorizes stormwater discharges of water contaminated by petroleum substances into waters of the state. TCQ is proposing to renew and amend this general permit. The current general permit expires on September 12th of this year. The draft permit and fact sheet were sent to EPA for their 90-day review on October 5th of 2022, and EPA approved the permit on December 15th. So now the draft permit is going to proceed with public notice sometime spring of 2023. Then the last general permit update that I have is regarding the livestock manure compost general permit, WQG 200,000. This permit authorizes the disposal of wastewater generated from livestock manure compost operations by evaporation or beneficial use by irrigation. TCQ is proposing to renew this general permit, which expires on November 10th of this year. We are currently in the concept stage. This general permit does not require EPA review, so we're hoping to go to the public notice in spring of this year. Those are the updates for the last 3 general permits. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. And that brings us to our last section of updates we want to provide, and these are the rule updates, starting with the quadrennial rule reviews from Michaela.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, so TCQ is required by Texas Government Code Section 2001.039 to review and consider for readoption each of our rules every 4 years. This is what we call the quadrennial rule review. During this review, TCQ determines if the rules need to continue to exist. Maybe they need to be deleted because they've been replaced by another rule, or are obsolete. They might need to be combined with another rule, and other scenarios like that. So any necessary changes that might be identified during this quadrennial review must be initiated in a separate rulemaking action. The quadrennial rule reviews are considered a non-rulemaking action. So the Secretary of State's rules regarding these rule reviews prohibit opening the agency's rules as a component of the review. Therefore, TCQ won't be modifying any rules in this review. It's simply to determine if the rules need to continue to exist. With that being said, the Water Quality Division is currently reviewing several chapters, the first being Title 30 Texas Administrative Code, or 30 TAC Chapter 205, the General Permits for Waste Discharges Chapter. And we are tentatively scheduled to publish the rule review notice in the Texas Register on February 10th of 2023. The next one is Chapter 218, the brine evaporation pits. This is tentatively scheduled for rule review notice publication in the Texas Register on February 24th of 2023. And then Chapter 21 for water quality fees is currently in our internal review to determine if we want to continue with that rule. And finally, Chapter 318 for marine seawater desalination discharges, which is also currently in internal review. Any questions on these quadrennial rule reviews? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then I have a rule update. This is regarding 30 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 210, the use of reclaimed water. So specifically, we are updating this rule for language that we're adding to the existing rule at section 210.5 to clarify that an application to obtain an authorization under Chapter 210 may be submitted concurrently or at the same time or any time after submittal of an application for a permit. This change to the rule will clarify the timing of the application for efficient processing and as an incentive to promote reuse of reclaimed water. The Commission approved this proposed rulemaking on September 22nd of last year. The notice was published in the Texas Register on October 7th, and a public meeting was held on November 7th. The comment period closed on November 8th, and no comments were received. The proposed rulemaking is scheduled to go to Commissioner's agenda on February 8th. So the agenda is just a few weeks from now, and the Commission backup documents have been posted. So if you go to the February 8th agenda and you click on the item 17 is what we are. It's docket number 2022-0725-RUL. So you can go ahead and now go to item 17, click on that link, and you will see the actual rule and all the documents that will be presented in front of the commissioners on February 8th. Thank you.
Any questions on 210 rulemaking? All right, thank you. Go ahead. Lewis?
As many of y'all know, we are working on updating Chapter 217. We had our first stakeholder, kind of an unofficial stakeholder meeting on collection systems yesterday. We had about 60 people attend. We're having our next stakeholder meeting on February 13th in this room, starting at 1 o'clock. It's going to be on activated sludge. You can participate by either being in the room or being online. And if you go to the Plan and Spec stakeholder group, you'll be able to see some of the proposed language that we're proposing. Yesterday, we had about 60 people between in person and online. We had several good comments that we were looking at making some revisions to the language that we had. And if anyone has any comments on 217 that they want us to make, you can submit them right now, and you can submit them to me, Paul, or Baltasar, and we'll be glad to look at it and incorporate it. And we will have another stakeholder meeting sometime in April. That date has not been decided. And tentatively, we're going to be talking about disinfection and UV systems. So we may have some other things on it, but that's tentatively what's set for the March meeting, 217. So we're looking at having a stakeholder meeting at least once a month. Any questions? Y'all are a very quiet group today, especially somebody over there smiling at me. Lyle, good to see you too. Anyway, huh? I'm not pushing daisies yet. Guess I'll probably do it before you are, because you've been around for 10,000 years, huh? Talk to you later.
All righty. Thank you, Lewis. That's all the updates we have for you, but we do have one more opportunity now. If you have any other questions to ask, I see one back there with Nathan.
Yeah, I was just curious on the regionalization policy. I know there was an update with some guidance several months back, but I can't recall, were there responses to some of the comments on some of the things that the agency was asking applicants to do in order to identify other facilities? Just curious if there's any update on that, on some of that guidance material.
Great question. I don't have the answer to that question. I'm looking around at my colleagues. Rebecca, you want to say something on that?
I may not know the full answer, but I know a little bit, maybe more than Greg. But so yes, the documents for regionalization were reviewed by management, and so there were edits that were required, and so right now staff is making those edits. So that's the process that item is on.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, if I find out anything further, I can certainly let y'all know. Martin, I think you had a question.
Hey, Greg. This is kind of really a topic maybe for your next stakeholder meeting. I am curious how TCQ is going to respond to the memo that EPA wrote on the PFAS rules as it applies to the wastewater and the pretreatment programs. This would be the memo they wrote in December where it's making recommendations on moving forward with that. And I know you don't have answers right now, but maybe in the future if we could get your opinion on kind of where it's going. We're curious.
Okay, yeah, good suggestion. I've jotted that down, and we'll certainly see what we can do. If not the next time, maybe the next one. So appreciate that. I've got an online question here.
Okay, I have 2 questions that have came in. I have one that's stated, this is for Rebecca, by the way, do we have to do reporting for heavy metals, and if so, if there are no violations?
I can answer that one. So for the multi-sector general permit, if you're required to do other kinds of monitoring, you might be filling out a discharge monitoring report that has both your hazardous metals monitoring information and like your benchmark monitoring information. So if you don't have any exceedances in your hazardous metals, you're not required to report them to TCEQ. However, if you're required to report your other items on the same DMR, you don't want to submit that DMR with a bunch of blanks where your hazardous metals are. So in that scenario, you would use a no discharge indicator code or a NODI code number 9 to indicate that it's conditional and not required for you to report that monitoring period. However, if you don't have the other monitoring requirements like benchmarks or numeric effluent limitations, and your only monitoring requirement is hazardous metals, then there's no need to go into the net DMR system unless there's an exceedance of those hazardous metals limits that you need to report to TCEQ. And feel free to send future questions to swgp@texas.tceq.gov about the MSGP net DMR monitoring.
Okay, got another one for you, possibly you or Rebecca. This is from Julie Winchell, and she needs more information regarding the general permit for manure composting. I would like a copy of the current draft prior to publication if possible, or to get a stakeholder group for the permit.
Thank you, Julie, for that comment. I will pass it on to the project manager. Thank you.
Any other questions out there? Oh, you have another one? All right, got some more.
I got some more coming through. Okay, I just received one. Are there any plans to revisit the plastics as NODA's rule making effort?
Sorry, would you repeat that one more time?
are there any plans to revisit the plastic/Nurdles rule making effort?
Are you specifically asking about the water quality standards rule? That's where that was?
I'm gonna respond back to her regarding that question, because
So yeah, if you can send that question, I guess, to Greg or I, and we will need more information to see if you're asking specifically for the water quality standards, which would be a different division. If you're asking about the implementation of the plastics, nurdles, all that in the MSGP, then that would be a question for me. If it's about the individual permits, then, we can route that to the appropriate person.
okay. And I have another question that came in from Hannah Glar with Lower Colorado River Authority. Can you please remind her of how to access the Spanish/English resources that we were mentioned earlier in the meeting regarding Title IX?
I'm not sure if you're hoping to hear about the templates or the actual notices, but I can go over both. So the pending permit application information, so copies of the translated notices and plain language summaries for pending applications are posted on our webpage with the title Pending Permit Application Information, Water Quality Permits, and the meeting notes will have a hyperlink for you to access that page. We also have Spanish notice templates available on the TCEQ web pages. The two different web pages are the initial notice Spanish templates and then second notice Spanish templates. And again, the meeting notes will have hyperlinks for you to access those pages. And then finally, the public involvement plan form was Form 20960. And feel free to email me directly if you want, more detailed information about these resources.
That's it. We have a question out here.
Good afternoon. This is specifically talking about laboratory data for pretreatment. Will TCEQ look at allowing Q qualifiers on data? And the reason I ask is pretreatment program, specifically with BOD analysis, there are some exceedances with blanks, and so that requires that the samplers have to go back out and resample those particular areas for new samples because of that. So I was just wondering if there was any acceptance with Q qualifiers.
Yeah, I'm not sure we've got anyone up here right now who can answer your question, but we can certainly get it to the right person and make sure you get a response on that. So thank you. All right, got another one?
Okay, Martin Miller with SAW, in case I didn't say a while ago. I'm curious, the timeline for electronic reporting for MS4 annual reports, if that's anytime soon or still in the works. Kind of curious.
Thank you. That's a good question. So TCQ is going to start working with EPA later this year, after either late summer, right around that area, with EPA to start the process of figuring out how to incorporate our Phase 2 MS4 general permit into the national, it's called NET MS4 system. And through that process, we're also going to do the Phase 1s. So the annual reporting for the Phase 1 permittees might be available maybe next year. Right now, we're going to be working, like I said, the end of this year regarding the Phase 2 MS4 general permit and the annual reporting requirements. And then right after that, we'll continue with the Phase 1s. So we're looking at hopefully next year. But we'll definitely will let you know. We'll reach out to the MS4s because we do want people to beta test the system to make sure that we catch any issues that we may not see, and the user might see it differently.
Rebecca, I have a question for you. Are there still any ongoing efforts for any of the avenues that would address plastics and standards and/or discharges and permitting?
Yeah, again, as Rebecca mentioned, a different division handles the water quality standards rule in general, and so can't really respond to that part of the question, but I don't know if Rebecca, you want to take the other.
Yeah, no, we'll take your question and send it over to water availability? No, planning, sorry, yeah. Water Planning Division, they're the ones that are over the water quality standards rule.
All right, last call. Okay, well, thanks for all the good questions, and we'll certainly follow up where we need to as far as what we weren't able to answer on site here. But yeah, thank you again for coming to this afternoon's meeting. We appreciate your being here and your participation. And the only announcement I have before we adjourn is that our next iteration of this meeting will happen on Tuesday, April 25th, same time, 1:30, same place here in the agenda room. So look forward to seeing you then. And with that, we will formally adjourn the meeting. Thank you.